r/ask Reddit. What's the best case of instant karma you've witnessed? I was at a touristy place at the top of a big cliff. People were hanging around at the top, just enjoying the view, and this one guy was eating a sandwich while staring at his phone. After he was done, he couldn't be bothered to find a trash can, so he went to throw the sandwich wrappings off the cliff, but he got his hands confused and hurled his phone off the cliff instead. Reminds me of the time I had a wish flower, seeding dandelion, and sucker, one in each hand, proceeded to get a mouthful of dandelion fluff. It's a whole lot of fun trying to dig that shit back out of your mouth. I tried to impress my husband by blowing the whole flower away in one solid breath. I inhaled too hard and the seeds ended up stuck in my throat. As I was gasping for air, my husband was yelling, "You should have seen your face. Your eyes were huge." Two of my friends and I were playing Monopoly sometime around freshman year of high school. One of my friends owned all the railroads, meaning any player who landed on a railroad would pay him 200. The entire game felt like I was just moving my token from railroad to railroad, paying my friend each time, having no opportunity to buy properties, and getting super frustrated. In reality it was probably only 2 or 3 times. On my next roll, I quickly calculate which space I was going to land on as I start to move my token. And lo and behold, I was going to land on another ducking railroad. I gracefully slide, cheat, past the railroad and plop my piece on the next space. Chance card reads something as follows. Move token to nearest railroad. Pay owner twice the amount. I lost my shit. I played Monopoly once in college. Once. Man, it felt like forever. Add in the auction rule. If you don't want the property, the person who bids the highest, including you, takes it, and make free parking do nothing. The game becomes far more bearable after those 2 changes. A person tried to shove past me in the hallway. Immediately after, a door opened up into the hallway and slammed him in the face. I don't care how long ago this was, I would still be there laughing. Eons have passed. The building is no longer standing, and humanity has moved on to new planets and galaxies, leaving Earth a desolate wasteland. All that remains is a man, decrepit and wasting, always laughing, until the end of time itself. A lifted pickup truck with one of those train horns was driving aggressively through morning work traffic and honking at people who got in his way. He did it to an unmarked sheriff, or trooper, some kind of law enforcement, and promptly got his ass pulled over. So, when one of those trucks that are unnecessarily lifted high up is pulled over, what does the cop do? Stand on the foothold? Pedestrian crossing the street. Everyone stops for him except one guy in the last lane blasts his horn and blows through the intersection, nearly running the pedestrian over. There was an unmarked police car right behind him that immediately pulled him over. As a pedestrian who uses the crosswalk correctly and yet has this happen to me every day, this brings a glistening tear of justice to my eye. I wish this happened more. I go running and just a couple days ago I couldn't even cross because everyone pulling up to the crosswalks decided they were more important. I finally started crossing only to have a truck pull into the middle of the intersection, inching closer and closer to me just so they can't take off the very second I am out of the crosswalk. I was literally running in the crosswalk and they were too impatient to wait the 10 extra seconds they had to wait. God, I hate the drivers who just keep inching forward in a crosswalk. It always forces people to walk in a curve around their car, which coincidentally means we spend longer crossing the street, and they are blocked longer. Just ducking wait. It can't possibly be that hard. Maybe not instant but close enough. Working as a medic a long time ago and get called for a leg injury at a Friday night soccer game. We get there and determine it's most likely a torn ACL. Painful, but basically any hospital can handle and it's not really a priority. So we explain to the patient it will probably be faster and a lot cheaper if she just wants to have someone else drive her to the hospital that's literally around the block. Here comes the white knight into our story. This guy used friend zone. Explained how he's a medical student going for his doctorate and she needs to go to the local trauma center, which is a good 30 minutes drive. We explain no, we'll go to the local, they can handle it. However, the patient pulls the nastiest look at us and says her friend knows more than my partner and I because he's actually studying medicine and we're just ambulance drivers. My partner and I give each other that look. An ACL tear isn't priority for trauma center, especially on a Friday night. Drunk driving crashes and gunshot wounds are gonna be taking up the other. We oblige the request with documented protest. The friend rides with us. We make him ride up front. He explains how the surgeon there is his friend and she'll get seen right away. We roll in and sure enough there's about a dozen ambulance crews trying to unload patients in much worse cases than ours. We get to Tridge after about 15 minutes, and the RSN tells us to put her in the waiting room. She starts crying bloody murder. Cherry on top, she asks her friend to do something. He calls his buddy surgeon down. Turns out not his buddy but one of his teachers, who proceeds to yell at him about thinking that an ACL tear needs to come to a trauma center. She could have been in and out the hospital in an hour if she had listened to us. Why do people think they know better than professionals? First year students always do. Always. They know enough to think they know everything but not enough to understand how much bigger their field is than they think it is yet. I used to live in a college city. Everything revolves around the colleges and the students are about half the population. The city is also many hundreds of years old, so every street is cobbled, and as a result of no real city planning in the old parts, they've had to make a shitload of the roads one-way streets. Many people don't realize that this also applies to bicyclists. And because of the multitude of these, it actually makes for a pretty perilous situation with people biking the wrong way. So the police department does do checks. Every single police officer there has been in an argument with several first year law students. It's such a big thing that they've had guides written on how to handle a first year law student that bikes against the one-way road's designated direction. This a-hole cut into my lane, forcing me to brake hard the other week. I honked and he turned around in his car, while still driving, to flip me off. He didn't see the car in front of him stopping at a red light and crashed into the car in front of him. I had a lot of fun telling the police what had happened. Buy yourself a dashcam. It'll pay for itself one day. A few years back, I was traveling on the interstate to meet some friends who attended a different college than I did for a weekend. On the way there, I'm in the right-hand lane, minding my own business, when a car tries to cut me off. No big deal, right? Except she ended up clipping my bumper and running me off the road, with her driving speeds of 80-85 miles per hour. Other driver keeps on going along her merry way, while I'm on the shoulder attempting to contact the local police to report an accident. 5 minutes later, a state trooper pulls up behind me and asks what happened. I explain the situation, describe the other vehicle, including a partial license plate number, and he asked if my car was still drivable. After confirming that it was, he said, "Just follow me up to this next exit." I got a call about a driver who is out of gas and needs assistance. We pull up to the next exit just shy of a gas station. Sure enough, it was the girl who was the other party in my hit and run. She tried to deny anything occurred, until the trooper looked at my front bumper damage, and her back end damage, assessed the paint colors matched, etc. Bonus is that her plate had the partial information I had gathered as she sped away. Turns out, girl has no insurance and no license. Gets hauled off to jail on a hit and run, all because she couldn't slow her ass down and be a decent driver. She probably wouldn't have run out of gas either if she had slowed down. One time I smiled at someone walking by, then I saw them smile at somebody, who then smiled at somebody else. It was like a happy karma train. Some say the smile train is still going on. Or I hope so. A dentist frowns in the distance. During my lunch break at work a few years ago, I ran over to this convenience store that sold a few deli items and also had a lunch of the day special. That day it was spaghetti. I walked into the store and headed to the back to the coolers to grab a drink, and I start walking over to the line that was formed to grab a lunch. This older woman, who was talking to a woman not even close to the line, saw me walking and literally strong-armed me to get in front of me. She full-on shoulder checked me. The cashier saw it, looked at me, and I just shook my head as if to not call her out on it. She gets 2 orders of spaghetti. They come in a styrofoam compartment tray. She walked towards the door and someone comes in that she knows, so she's saying hi. I pay for my food and I'm out the door. As I'm walking to my truck, I hear a loud ooh-off. I turn around and this woman is planked on the ground with spaghetti and meat sauce all over her white shirt. Such a beautiful image and so deserved. I just walked into a crowded bar with my friend back when we were in our early 20s. Make our way around the entrance handrails and bam, this dude smashes his shoulder into mine, knocking me back. Thinking it was just an accident caused by a crowded bar, I start to recover and this dude throws his shoulder into me again. Before I can even begin to react to the second more aggressive hit, this monstrosity of a bouncer watching the whole thing go down picks the guy up and literally throws him out the exit doors. It all happened in a matter of 5 seconds. I don't think any other person in that bar, nor my friend, even saw it go down. What was the point of him doing that? So weird. He probably was just drunk, wanted to fight someone, and I must have been a guy he thought he could take. I would have obliged no doubt and been thrown out with him if it wasn't for Bouncer Man. Was walking down the street and a Porsche gunned to make a left turn in front of me at the entrance of a gas station. He missed hitting me by about a foot. He cut it too close and hit the curb and tore his front bumper off. Nice. Something similar to Land Road, about 35 miles per hour. Little car cuts in front of me to make a right-hand turn. He took the turn too tight and bounced his right rear wheel off very large concrete curb. Hard. I heard body panels scraping. Dude I worked with, pizza delivery, hit my bumper and scratched in the parking lot. A customer called him out on it. He denied it and went on his delivery. On that delivery he was T-boned and his car was totaled. Had he come into the store to tell me and apologize, I would have forgiven it. Instead he had to pay $500 for a new bumper paint job and lost his car. Not gonna lie, it sounds like you were the one who hit him. In high school had a kid punch me for like no reason. I would have punched him back, but the principal and the resource officer had literally just walked around the corner and saw it. They walk up and ask the other kids, "Did the lightning count one provoke Bob here?" Kids shook their heads. "Did the lightning count one strike Bob before just now?" Kids shook their heads. Resource officer cuffed Bob and took him to the office. He was a multiple offender and this was the last straw. He was expelled and we never saw him again. I got hauled in by the resource officer because I had a club in the back of my truck. The club was a tire iron. I gave them the most "you people are stupid" series of comments ever. No, I'm not going to throw away my tire iron or dangerous weapon. What if I get a flat, you dipshits? Always keep a baseball and a catcher's mitt in the trunk with your tire iron. Your lawyer will thank you. A few years ago now, there were terrible gales of wind in my town. Like they would be pushing you down the street at times. At the place I worked at, there seemed to be a funnel effect due to the size of the building and narrow streets, which made the wind even stronger, to the point you could almost lean backwards as you walked, which you had to do to stop yourself from being pushed forward. Well, one time I came out of work, walked down the road in the strong winds to the corner, where there was an adjacent road, and the wind picked up something crazy, and practically fired me out around the corner. Unbeknownst to me, there was an old woman coming the other way, who saw me just randomly fly out from around the corner, and looked at me like I was a prize idiot just messing around. I looked back to see her reach this corner, where the wind was still blowing strong, and it sent her flying out into the road. Luckily nothing was coming at the time, but it was very much a "young man, don't act like that." She gets to corner and wind blows. Ugh. I'm sorry, but this is a hilarious mental image. I got punched in the face by my cousin. I was 14 at the time and he was 8. He yelled "I am invincible" and held his fists up to assert dominance, and then he turned 180 into a wooden support post in our basement. He sat down covering his face and started crying, and I was trying to maintain a concerned and worried look, but it was just funny as hell. I was driving on the freeway one day and needed to get over. I checked to make sure it was clear, signaled and changed lanes. I didn't realize there was an Escalade coming up behind at over 100 miles per hour in that lane. He was going so fast that the lane looked clear when I checked 1 second ago. The Escalade decided to teach me a lesson by acting like it wasn't going to stop and plow into me. There were now cars on both sides of me, so I couldn't swerve out of the way. So the Escalade screams up until last possible second and then hits the brakes hard so he matches my speed about a foot away from my bumper. While this is happening, I'm freaking out and wobbling the car cause I think I'm going to get creamed. The cop that was 1 lane over and 2 cars back immediately flipped on his lights and pulled them over. That was quite a roller coaster ride of emotions for me. Jesus, I hate when people do that shit. Like, don't intimidate me on the road. What I did wasn't a personal attack against them, as much as they think the world revolves around them. I also hate when people slow down when they see cops. I was in the passing lane with an SUV in front of me that was already driving slowly, but he sees the motorcycle cop. He slows to 65. No one in front of him. Cop drives the line between lanes and gestures the car to keep moving or get over. So satisfying. Driving in the slow lane. Guy rushes up to my bumper and starts tailgating me. Honked his horn and flashed his lights. When I didn't move, he went around me. Once he passed my car. So did a state trooper with his lights on. Another time, when driving to work, car starts tailgating me, but doing the speed up slow down thing. I look in my rear view mirror and see a girl in the passenger seat yell at him. The car speeds up to my bumper one more time. I look in my rear view getting ready to flip him off. Then I see the girl absolutely beach slap the guy driving. He backed off and stopped tailgating me. That girl is a legend. Worked at a convenience store several years ago. Check my other posts for a couple of funny stories. This was back before gas pumps were all either card at the pump or prepay. It was about 7 AM and the morning rush was on. A suspicious fella pulled up to our farthest away pump and positioned his car so that it was not easily visible from the building. This is a dead giveaway for someone who is going to drive off without paying. My manager and I watch this guy as we are ringing up other customers, and sure enough, when he filled up, he gets in the car and peels out, making a run for the road. He leaves our lot via a small access road that ends at a traffic intersection. Red light. He stops for the light, then decides he needs to get the hell out of Dodge and guns it again through the red light. When he does, he brakes his drive shaft. Car coasts to a stop right in the middle of the intersection. But wait, there's more. Guy walks back into the store and asks if he can use our phone because his car breaks down. My manager says sure, after you pay for the gas you just stole. Guy gets all indignant. I didn't steal no methodican gas. Getting more and more agitated and confrontational. Just then 2 police officers walk in. Now these are 2 lady cops, both in their late 50s early 60s, that usually are stationed at the local high schools but always stop in for a coffee and a pastry. These ladies are the nicest people you'd ever meet, always with smiles on their faces. As soon as they turn the corner after entering, they see the guy getting into it with my manager. Their demeanors changed in an instant, going from kindly grandmother to I am going to kick your duck-eyed teeth in microseconds. They manhandle this guy away from my manager, push him up against the wall, cuff him and stuff him. You know how you always think to yourself, why is there never a cop around when you need one? This time there was. I was once verbally assaulted by a guy at a gas station who decided I was a lesbian. I'm not. I just had an HRC sticker on my car and I tend to wear a lot of flannel. He decided he didn't like that I was a lesbian and decided to rant and rave and yell at me about what an affront to humanity I am. I probably am, but not because I sleep with women. I decided to ignore him and just get in my car. Inside the gas station were 3 cops. I had waved at them while filling up my drink and wished them a nice Memorial Day weekend. The angry homophobe also didn't like that I was ignoring him instead of crying, I guess, yelling back at him. That is more my usual MO. But like I said, I knew there were cops inside and I didn't want them to pick me up for whatever reason. Angry man slammed both his hands hard enough on my little car to make the whole thing rock. The 3 cops bum rushed him, pinned him to the ground, and had him in cuffs in less than 15 seconds. It was fantastic. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.